Hello guys, welcome to Mark Shrimp Tanks. Today I'm going to show you the best way ever that you will find for doing water changes in your shrimp tanks, right guys? Because if you start doing it this way, you'll never lose another shrimp due to water changes or the ring of death or something like that, right? So stay tuned because you're going to love this. This will probably be the single most important video that you will see on YouTube if you're an aquarium shrimp breeder, because this will save you so much hassle, right? We're going to use a little device like this, little float valve. If you can't get these, I will also, by the way, leave a link for these in the description. I have made a couple with different plates as well for different types of tanks, because these don't all fit on the same tanks, but we'll go over that in detail. As I said, I will leave a link for these in the first comment. I'm going to actually start to put them in the first comment because I quite often change things in the description, and I do en masse over all my videos over the entire YouTube, and a lot of the information is lost, right? So from now on I'm going to put details that you will need to find in the first comment of the video, right? So this is what we're going to use. Let's get on with it. Guys, I think it's important that we go quickly over why you should do your water changes this way compared to the convenient way that we used, the conventional way I should say, compared to the way we used to do them before. And that is simply because of this. You will see much more shrimp surviving. Let me just put my phone down, because this is quite a serious issue. If you can master this part in shrimp keeping, right, you will be, I don't know, you will be the best shrimp keeper in the world, kind of thing. And I've actually gotten this advice from quite a few very, very knowledgeable shrimp keepers that have shown me proof of how good shrimp keeping can be when you do water changes properly. I'm talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of shrimp in tiny little tanks, right? So this way is the best way for most shrimp to do water changes, right? And all it involves, guys, is dripping the water back into the tank slowly over time. And that is it. You want to match the parameters of the new water going into the tank, and you want it to be roughly maybe 2 or 3 drips a second into the tank, and you will have almost, I can honestly say, guys, right, honestly say, no fingers crossed, nothing, I've had no deaths in about 4 or 5 months of shrimp keeping. Right, as a testament to this as well, that I think every single tank I have now either has babies in it or buried females, right? And we'll actually do a water change in this video so you can see how I do it. I'll do it 2 ways as well, because I prefer to use those little drip float valve things, but you can also just use an air hose, tie a knot in it, if that's the way you like to do it. I'm because I have like a lot of tanks, I prefer to use the little float valve thing, just so I can put it on the tank and forget about it. I also have 2 different variations of the float valve thing as well, float valve thing, for different thicknesses of tank rim, right? Because most tanks are just like a thin piece of glass, but some of them will have a metal rim as well, right? So I'll show you that as well. It's just to give you an idea on what you can do to do your water changes, right? So we'll do it 2 ways today. What's important when you drip acclimate things is to get your water supply up as high as possible, and let gravity do its thing, right? We're going to let the water drip into the tanks. And guys, right now I'm doing 10% water changes every week or 2, right? But I do know people that do bigger water changes. So this still can be applied to bigger water changes as well, where you need to take out more water, basically, right? Someone actually showed me this with proof as it is with it as well. They had a tiny little tank, 15-litre tank, and they took out 5 litres, so that's 30% water change, and they drip acclimated the water, they dripped the water back in. Guys, it had the most shrimp I'd ever seen in a tank, ever. Right, and it was basically bursting at the seams, not with adult shrimp, it wasn't a cold tank, bursting at the seams with baby shrimp as well, right? So drip acclimating, dripping your water into the tanks is the way to go, right? I'm not going to cut out all those parts because I'm only human after all. I make mistakes. So this is probably going to be the final video I will do on water changes, because I've done a lot of them over the years, and this is the single one that I'm the most happy with of all the water changes. It is small. You can do smaller water changes. You basically let the drip do its thing, and that is it. You go away, have a cup of tea. You can actually go away for hours. You can go away hiking, do whatever you like, as long as you calculate the amount of water that goes into the tank isn't over the volume, right? So let me quickly show you that instead of me just mumbling on, because I do that. Alright guys, so this is the one I use on my Sulawesi tank. This one here, it's a container 5 litres. I only remove 5 litres of water from that every week or two. You mix up your salts and your reverse osmosis water in here. Even if you're using tap water, do it the same way, you'll have less deaths. The way this works, guys, is this sits on a shelf above the tank. You can use a set of ladders or anything that's higher that's going to hold the weight of the container, right? And then you have the outflow like this coming down, and it has to be below this container, because what happens inside here is when you suck on this pipe here, you create a vacuum in the tube, and that sucks up water into the pipe, right? So there's this in here, there will be a level of water. When you suck on this pipe here, that level of water gets sucked over the edge, right? And it's the actual gravity of this long part here pulling down on the shorter part on the inside, because there is an inside part to this as well, that creates your vacuum, and it creates suction down the way, right? It's basically the weight of the water coming out here sucks up water from the inside, because it weighs less on the inside than it does on the outside, if you know what I mean. Right, so on the inside of this here, right in this corner, is where the water gets sucked in. Let me pull this out so you can actually see it. Just to give you an example, like this, right? And I use these ceramic rings. I don't actually use an air stone anymore, because I find that the air stones, they tend to clog up over time, and I do a lot of water changes. Now I do a little bit less, but guys, normally I do a lot of water changes. So this is the setup for this. It goes into your container, like so, and you might be able to see it right in the very corner here. It's actually on the other side. You can see that's where it is, right? So when I've removed the water in the tank, I put this above, and this is full, suck in the water and correct the drips here. That's all I do, right? If you don't have a valve like this, you can put a knot in the line, because it's just silicone tubing. That also works. Yeah, it is what it is. Alright guys, let's get this done. We're going to do a small water change on this small tank down here. Hopefully the glare isn't too bad for you guys. It's a very, very small tank. We're going to take out probably about 5 litres, which is way more than 10%, right? So this is a good way to show you as well that it doesn't really matter so much about the volume of water you take out, as in it matters more that the drip rate that you add it back into the tank, right? So we're going to take out about 5 litres of water. I'm doing it off the cuff here, guys, because my back is ruined. Today is the first day. Today is the first day I've actually been able to stand straight like this for about a week, right? So, yeah. The awesomeness of being disabled. Right, so we're going to take out about 5 litres. My bucket is measured here. You, of course, won't see all of this, because I'm not going to. I'm away down here. Right? So let's take out 5 litres. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. I'm going to take out 5 litres of water, which is an awful lot for this tank, but it's a good way to show you. It's a good way to show you that it doesn't really matter about the volume. What matters the most is the way you drip it back into the tank, right? So we're almost at 5. There you go, there's 5 there, right? So this water is quite yellow. Got lots of plants. And the reason we do water changes like this is to remove impurities in the tank, but to also replenish things that are lost, like minerals as an example. Plants need minerals. The healthier your plants are in your tank, the better your tank will function as a whole. Right, so let's get rid of the water there and let's mix up some new water. I'm going to show you this in the bucket as well instead of in that little container, just so you can see exactly what it is I do. Let's go over here. Alright, so I'm adding the water. I thought I'd just show you this little last bit. Get in there. We need about 5 litres for this tank. I'm using reverse osmosis water. Let's see, is that about 5? That's roughly about 5. Guys, and then, because I'm using RO water, I add some buffer to my tank, right? And this is the one I use. It is called Shrimp Mineral GHKH Plus, right? So this is, I use this for tigers and for Neocaridina. Right, and another way you could do this as well, guys, is read the instructions, see what it says on this on the side, right? So going by this, it says dosage. I know I need 2 grams per 10 litres of water, right? It says it right there, 2 grams per 10 litres of water. And then it also gives us what the reading should be in microsiemens. You see it? 300 microsiemens, right? So that's about 150 TDS. So we now can say that this is only 5 litres of water, so I need 1 gram of salt, right? So let me quickly grab some salt, 1 gram maybe. I use a little set of scales like this. I wonder, is there a way I can show you here? So just move that out of the way for a second. 1 gram. Here's eBay scales. eBay, I've actually had these ones for years and years, right? So make sure you have a little scoop that's nice and clean. Like this, you want to tear it. And we need 1 gram, guys, remember? 1 gram, right? So let's see how much. Let's see how much this is here. 1 gram. 1 gram is hardly anything. Almost. Right, so let's get out our little spoon and take out a little bit more. 1.1. And let me see, what's this? Just over 5. So let's take it a tiny bit more. Right, so we're heading for 300 microsiemens or 150 TDS, right? So we're actually going by the recommendations of the people that test the water in all these various places. Let's have a little look over here. And so you get your salt, how much it is, hardly anything. And we're going to tip it into this tub here, you see it? Let's get this out of the way because we no longer need this. Tip it into the tub, it looks like nothing's in there. Guys, and if I can find my mixing stick, give it a good mix, like this. Give it a good mix. And then wait a second, get your EC meter or your TDS meter, whatever one you're using. I like to give it a few seconds and just look on the bottom here and see if you can see any granules that are undissolved. Give it another mix. Like so. And normally I would mix this in that container that we saw in the first scene. Right, so let's have a little look at this, see what it says. We have an EC meter here, and what was it, guys? It was about 300, right? So we're a little bit short on this. 260. We're a little bit short. Let's add a little bit more. I know from experience doing this that that amount that we need is about 40-50 parts per million Siemens is a flat level scoop, I think. Let me try half because it's always hard to take out something. Like half, let's put that in there, let's see what that does. Because you can always add more. If you do go over, guys, as well, you can always add a little bit more reverse osmosis water. For you guys that are using tap water, you can also do this. Give it a good mix like this. And this is where you guys would tap, or this is where you guys would use something like Secant Prime, like this. And I'm going to tell you the dose as well and show you this because a lot of you guys use far too much stuff. This is very, very concentrated. I've seen guys use cupfuls and cupfuls of this stuff in tanks, and it's way too much. Right, this is a good safeguard as well, guys. If you use reverse osmosis water, just put a few drops into your water, into your reservoir, just in case anything gets through. Right, that's why I have this. Right, so for this amount of water, for you guys that are using tap water, you're talking about 1 drop per 2 litres of water. At the very most, 1 drop per 1 litre of water is, so what is that? That is 10 drops would be 1 mil, so you're talking about 0.5 mil for this amount of water. 0.5, right, so it's hardly anything. I'm not going to use this today because we're not using tap water. Let's give this a little bit of a stir again. Let's check it out and see how we've done. 175, 180, right, so we've hardly jumped up anything there. Remember I said I thought it was 1 full flat scoop? I was correct. I was correcto mundo. And so we want about half a flat scoop again. Half a flat scoop, we can always adjust it a teeny bit with a little bit of reverse osmosis water. And I've actually said to you guys about this as well. The reason I'm changing to an EC meter like this is because it's more accurate. It's twice as accurate as a TDS meter. The issue you guys will have with TDS meters is there's a different conversion factor on different TDS meters, which means you get different readings, right? So a good example of this is this here. Watch this. This is actually the same tub that we're using right now. Remember what I told you? We're looking about for 300 parts per million. US Siemens conductivity on this water. Look what I've written down here for TDS. And this was wrong because this is the wrong conversion factor for this. It actually tells you on here as well. We're aiming for 300 US Siemens. I know for sure this, guys, because I have a TDS meter built into this as well. I have other TDS meters, and it's twice as accurate. So see that? 304. 304. It'll probably go down a little bit. 303, 305. Alright, so the next step would be for us to put our water into a container. This part just depends, guys, on what containers you have and how you're going to drip acclimate. How are you going to drip your water back in? I keep on saying drip acclimate because it's what I'm used to saying. How you're going to add your water back in, right? So this is just a cola bottle on top here going into this container. I actually have it stuck in here with the rubber band around the rim. And just pour it in as gentle as you can. I normally do this on the floor, but it wouldn't look very nice, so for a nice camera shot. So let's get this water in here. If you have a bigger surface where you can drip your water in from above your tank, you could also drip directly from the bucket, right? But I don't have the space because we have a bigger tank above it. You could also put something above that tank and use a longer drip line, but this is just to show you guys how easy this is. It's easy as long as you're not injured like me. My back is horrifically bad today. Like I'm actually struggling to stand here. That was a little bit more than 5 litres. Yeah, I'm struggling to stand here today, but let's not moan about back problems today. Let's get this water here, over there, and into the tank. Alright guys, let's get our water over there. Like this. You can just see it and no more. And here is our little drip setup here. I've actually had to put a little extension on it just to make sure it reaches the tank here. You see it? Right, so you want to suck on this end, make sure the valve is open, and then add it in. See the water coming down? Right, so Us just adding it like this will now let this drip into the tank. You see it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have to remove some water from this tank. We have to remove roughly 10 litres of water. Our water is made. I will put some little clips up somewhere here so you can see them being made. And let's get this water in here. Right, so we're going for 10, 11 litres of water in this container here. I'll put details on the new water that's going to go into this tank and text somewhere on the screen as well. Right? I don't want to repeat what we've already done, right? Because you've already seen me make this water. I'll put somewhere here something that you can see me mixing the water, how much I use for this specific salty mineral, and then we'll take a look at this RO container up here, and I'll show you how this works, right? So we only have this little bit here to fill. It's already at 9 litres, and I could probably take a little bit more out of this tank because I try and go like 10% in my tanks most of the time. But this will do for today's video, I think. Okay, let's have a little look at our water reservoir that we're going to use to fill our tanks, and it's simply up here. You've already seen the container, you've seen the little clips on the sides filling it up, and this is how mine's is, right? In here, in this part here, there's a pipe that comes off that T-junction, goes all the way to the bottom here. You can just see it there, you see it? It's a piece of rigid white piping like this, you see it? And this is reverse osmosis water tubing here with a reverse osmosis water connector, flow control on here. And on this part here, guys, we're going to add a little green connector that we're going to use to connect to air silicone line, right? And I like to use silicone line for this because I'm able to see it. You're able to see if it stops. Right, so we're going to connect that here, and then we're going to run it over to this tank over here. So we now have our cable. I have made this cable long enough. This is just silicone tubing, right? It's waterproof silicone tubing, right? So it's okay for this application. I've made this long enough that I can reach anywhere in the room from that container up there that holds my water, right? So I'm going to plug this part here into the container that you just saw, right? And it's worth me pointing this out here, guys, before we go any further. The silicone tubing that comes, the reverse osmosis tubing that comes off this container, right, looks like this. And there's a little valve on it here, right? To get this green thing here, the little connector that you get on air control valves, this is what this is. To get it to fit into here snugly, right, you have to heat up this pipe with a flame, and then you have to shove that in like this. Right, and then you have to cool it down. You can let it cool down yourself, but I find it works better if you plunge it into cold water. It seems to contract it quite fast, right? So that is a really snug fit. It's so I've done that on that end up there, and then on this other end here, this is the one that goes to the tank. Just say, for example, this is actually on the tank like this. It fits into here, right? I've actually disassembled this one because I've been using it somewhere else, right? But this is what I love about these fittings, is they're all push fit like this. You see it? So that joint is now waterproof. To get this to open again, you have to push it against itself and then release the pipe, right? So again, just to show you, it goes in like this. This is actually on your tank like this, and this little thing controls the water level in the tank, right? So if it's not enough water, the water will continue to flow. As soon as this comes up to a certain level, it will stop. There's a little valve in here, right? So you can also fine tune the flow here. I like to do, as I said, guys, 2-3 drips a second. There's absolutely no rush doing this, but why don't I just show you, because then you'll see for yourself, right? So we're going to go over and we're going to do it on that tank behind me there, right? So let's disconnect this, because as I said, this fits onto a glass rim in the side. The one I have over here sits on top, right, and I'll show you that as well. This is how this part fits in here, right? So I've already attached it to our reservoir in that part I showed you previously. And here is our other end, right? I'm going to actually grab this and come across the other side because the camera stand is all in the way, right? So I need to actually get water coming from that reservoir through this pipe here, right? So we need to create some suction in this, and then that will create a siphon, because the end is hanging from the rack all the way to the ground. There's a lot more water in that pipe than there is water in the pipe that's in the container, right? So it pulls down that water and pulls it out of the container. You all know how that works. Right, so let me quickly suck on this. The other thing I like about this, guys, as well is I've made these so that these turn. Not by design, it just happens to be like this, but I think that's a good thing to have, because when you start this siphon, you ideally want to start your siphon over the tank. Makes sense, huh? You don't want to spill water all over the place, right? So the other thing, guys, as well is I also like to add a small clamp like this. You could probably get away with something like a clothes peg. If you have a tank that has a metal rim like this that's quite thick, this is what I use. You see it? I've drilled the hole through some plexiglass here and attached it like normal. Let's get that on here. Let's put our little clamp in place, and this clamp's job is simply to stop that moving. You see it? So this is all freeze. It all moves quite freely. It all frees quite movely. Alright guys, let's get this started. The clamp is on. I have to get water through this pipe. I have to open the valve that you saw in the previous shot. And then I actually have to create this siphon through this little pipe, right? Because the distance is so far, we're talking like 5-6 meters, we will have plenty of time to suck on this. We can see that the water comes through, and then we attach it to this little thing here, right? So let's give it a go. I can see the water coming. Put it on here, push it in tight, and you can probably just make it out here that it's dripping. You see it? You can see the air bubbles and stuff coming through. This is it actually working nicely, right? So, as I said, I love this that you can swing this around if you have to. Just for safety's sake, guys, I probably have this joint over the tank just so that any water that does come at the joints actually goes into the tank. The other thing as well, guys, as well as worth mentioning here is, see these little blue plastic things on any RO joint? You have these little blue plastic things. These are sleeves that stop the grey part of the joint being pushed in. Without these on, it can drip, right? So it is actually worth putting the little blue plastic clips on. I found that out with experience. The reason I don't have them on here is just I probably have lost them somewhere, right? So if you have them, please put them on. Right, this is dripping, I think, underneath, we can see. It's actually flowing down the back of the valve and down this thing here, right? So this will take quite a while to fill up, I'd imagine. Let's open it up full. Let me see, can we see? No, we can't. We can't see anything because it's working so perfect. Also, guys, remember and write down your dates of your water changes. It's very, very important, because you need to try and keep some kind of note of when you do them, because you will forget. Trust me, you will forget. As I said, I try and do them every week or two, as you can see by my notes here. Alright, Shrimp Fam, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you have any questions, then please feel free to leave them below in the comment section. And I love you guys. I'll catch you in the next one.